worksheet 6. We talked about the retake next week and the fact that it's on 0.8, but it will have a quadratic question or two on it. And our standards for today are primarily these three. And we're going to start on worksheet 6, side A. This is called polynomial form or standard form, when it's just y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. This is not an extremely helpful form for finding anything other than maybe the y-intercept. Anybody know how you find a y-intercept? Almost. Yes. To find the y-intercept, you always let x equal to 0. So to do that for this equation, I would have y equals 2 times 0 squared minus 4 times 0 minus 6, which would just be what? Negative 6, because all the rest of this is going to be 0. So it crosses the y down here somewhere at negative 6. I'm putting it kind of because I don't really know where else it's going. So that was 0, negative 6. Please write that as an ordered pair. Okay, how do you find the x-intercepts? Yeah, you always let the y equal to 0. So on this one, it's going to say 0 equals 2. Oh, apparently I'm in my head jumping ahead. Can we take a 2 out of all that? Okay, that would leave an x squared minus 2x minus 3. Does that factor? X minus 3, x plus 1. Negative 3x plus 1x in the middle would give us negative 2x, and a negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. Some of you need to practice factoring, even if it's 5 problems every night, but you've got to get better at factoring, and you can't be using some goofy trick system, okay? Now, can 0 equal 2? 0 equal x minus 3, 0 equal x plus 1. Well, 0 cannot equal 2, but this would make x equal 3, and this would make x equal negative 1. Hi. Is it the same hour? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yep. All right. So we came up with x was 3 when y was 0, or x was negative 1 when y was 0. So it crosses at negative 1 and positive 3. And this was negative 6. And do you know which way it's opening? It's opening up. But is this negative 6 thing the vertex? How do you know? Because it's what? Yes, perfect. The vertex has to be on the line of symmetry, right? Does anybody remember the vertex finder recipe? We could find the vertex by averaging these. Negative 1 plus 3 is 2, divided by 2 is 1. Okay, the vertex has to occur on the line x equals 1. But there's actually a recipe for that. I think it's further down on the page. But the line of symmetry is always the opposite of b over 2a. Does that look a little bit familiar? It's part of the quadratic formula, right? Okay, so this is what I call the vertex finder recipe. So it would also give us 1. if we went here to this original form up here and did x equals the opposite of negative 4, which would be 4, over 2a, which was also 2, we'd have 4 over 4, or 1. So the vertex has an x value of 1. Okay, can anybody tell me again what 2 ways I just did that? I average the x-intercepts because it has to be halfway in the middle. Or I use that finder recipe, right? Okay, now that I have that, though, how do I find the y? Yeah, I have this equation, right? So I can put 1 in for x into the equation. So it'll be y equals 2 times 1 squared minus 4 times 1 minus 6, which would be 2 minus 4 minus 6, which is negative 8. How did I do? 2 minus 4 is negative 2, minus 6 is negative 8. Okay, so the vertex is actually a little further down here. So this was actually negative 6 over here. And the vertex was down here at 1. Yeah, I'm going to have to erase that. Thought I could cheat. The vertex is at 1, negative 8. How's it looking? That was a lot of information. Okay, so let's do some more practice. This is called vertex or transformational form. So what is it useful for? Finding the vertex. We are so smart. Where is the vertex on this? Let's write out the general vertex form, by the way. Y equals a, x minus h squared plus k. Everybody good? So for this, our vertex is negative 5, negative 4. Because it is always the opposite in here, and then keep whatever sign this one had. So negative 5, negative 4. This is a ridiculous graph, though. It isn't going to graph nicely. Does anybody know why already? Yeah, this stretch is telling me it's going down, and it's narrow. So, no. So I'm just going to draw a rough sketch right now. I'm going to tell you that the y, is it going to cross the x? No, right? Because it's going down. It's eventually going to cross the y, but I think it's going to be really far down. So let's talk about those two things. The x-intercepts are when y equals 0. Well, if this said 0 equals negative 3, x plus 5 squared minus 4. Use your methods from the quiz yesterday. What could we do first? Add the 4 over. Then we would do what? Divide. Now, when we went to square root, does anybody see what the problem is? Yeah, you're square rooting a negative number. Are you going to get an actual real number that you can graph then? So it's imaginary, so there is no x-intercept. But that should have made sense to us after we graphed it and realized it was opening down. All right, what about y-intercept? What's the rule for that? Let x equal 0. Okay, so let's go put in x equals 0 up here. It'll say y equals negative 3, 0 plus 5, squared minus 4. Okay, we start in the parenthesis and get what? 5 squared is 25 times negative 3 minus 4 is negative 75 minus 4 more is negative 79. Now, do you see why we might not be able to graph that very accurately at all? Okay. Moving on. Last one is kind of unusual to see when asked to graph. What is this helpful to find? Does anybody know? This is called x-intercept or factored form. So what do you think it's helpful for finding? Yeah. So the stretch is still out here. And then it would be like x minus b, x minus c, I guess would be a general form, where b and c are something different, because they're not h and k. All right. But the x-intercepts, if I set this equal to 0, can 1/2 equal 0? No, that's actually the stretch of the parabola. Okay. But the x-intercepts would be at 5 or -3. So we would have at 5, we'd get a y of 0, or at -3, we'd get a y of 0. So let's graph those. 5 and -3. Now, we learned about a couple methods for finding the axis of symmetry or the vertex. My little finder recipe, and maybe I shouldn't have used these letters up here, because this is not b, right? -b/2a works when it's in standard form. So I probably should have called this like D and E or something ridiculous. But this is not going to help us. Do you remember what Martin said, though? I can give you credit on the video because it was a good answer. How do we find when these are the x-intercepts? I think it was Martin. Maybe it was Xavier. Average, right? If we average the x-intercepts, we'll get the line of symmetry, which is also the x value of the vertex. Okay? So -3 plus 5 divided by 2 is 2 divided by 2, or wasn't that what it was last time? So it's x equals 1 is the line of symmetry right here, which means the vertex goes through 1 something. Most likely you're not going to be asked a question on a quiz given this form, because to graph it, it's just icky. But you could change the form, right, if you wanted to. You could foil it together and distribute. How are we going to find the rest of the vertex, though? Yeah, plug it back in. So we're going to have 1/2, 1 minus 5, and 1 plus 3. This would be 1/2 of -4 times 4, which would be, anybody? Be careful. Do you take half and then half again? No. Half of -4 is -2 times 4 is -8. Or you could do them 4s would be -16 and half of that's -8. Was it really? Oh. It is, because if it was going to be the same, I would have thought the second one would be the same, and it was not even close to the same. All right. Did the first one have the same? The first one is not the same parabola. It has the same vertex and the same, didn't even have the same. All it had was the same vertex, right? And line of symmetry, yes. Okay. All right. Back up. Y-intercept. Why do I have a blue dot at -8? I don't either. I feel like we should unvideo that. There should be a blue dot down here at 1 -8, right? But the y-intercept is not at -8. How are we going to find the y-intercept? Yeah, put a 0 in for what? Nope, the y-intercept is when x equals 0. Okay, So we're going to let x equal 0. If I go up here, I get a 1/2 times 0 minus 5 times 0 plus 3, which is 1/2 of negative 5 times 3 would be negative 7.5. Anybody? So that was over 0 and down 7.5. Anybody know why that kind of makes sense to me? How much did it go over or up? Only a half. Where is that? Isn't that the stretch? When we went over 1, it would go up a half. Genius. Okay. So this section just wants us to change forms. There are a couple options here. To change to x-intercept form, what is the name for x-intercept form? The other name. Yes, so all we really need to do is factor. So this would be y equals, anybody know how that factors? Does that work? Okay, so that wasn't hard. Change to vertex form, okay? There's 2 of these. The way you were taught, okay? The way you were taught in Algebra 2 or College Algebra, or I don't think you were probably even did this in Algebra 1, but you were taught to complete the square. Okay? I'm going to show you completing the square, and then I'm going to teach you a trick to get around it if you don't like completing the square, okay? So, if you're doing completing the square, you would subtract the 1 over to the y side, because remember we had to have the constant term on the other side, put a plus blank, x squared minus 4x plus blank. Now how do we complete the square over here? Just like we did on the quiz. Half of the b term would make this x minus 2. Squared would make it a positive 4 in the blank. Now on the left side we have y plus 3 equals this. So to get it in vertex form, all we need to do is subtract the 3 back over to the other side. So we have x minus 2, quantity squared minus 3. This is vertex form. Okay. Why is this one not going to be our friend? If we go to complete the square, we're going to have y minus 7 plus blank equals 2x squared minus 12x plus blank. What's wrong? I can't take half of this. Anybody know why? Yes, we can't complete the square when there's a coefficient other than 1. We have to pull it out. So I would go y minus 7 plus blank equals, take out the 2, and then you'd have x squared minus 6x plus blank. Just follow along, please. Try to pay attention, but I'm going to show you a better way to do this question, okay? Then to complete the square, you take half of minus 6 and get what? X minus 3, quantity squared. Square that back here and you get a 9. The 2 is still out in front, so this whole side is equivalent to this. But does anybody know what the trick is? You have to do this so much second semester in this class when we get to conics. But I'm going to show you a way around it today. Do we really add a 9 to the left side? Anybody tell me why we don't add a 9 to the left side? Nope. What does this side really have on it? Yeah. 2 times 9 is 18. We really added 18 onto this side to get it to be equivalent to this. So we have to add 18 over here. All right, that gives us y equals, what is that, 9? 11. Is it 11, guys? Y plus 11, sorry, equals this. Oh my goodness, write a little better, Hofbauer. That's an 11. Okay, so now we're going to subtract 11 to the other side, and we get y equals 2, x minus 3 squared minus 11. Okay, you ready to learn a better way to do that? Do you remember my recipe? I'm actually going to do both of these real fast on another paper here by a different method. Okay, completing the square wasn't too bad here, but let me show you. If you use my x equals opposite of b over 2a, what would you get here? Opposite of b would be 4, 2 times a, which is 1. All that would become 4 divided by 2 is 2. So I know the vertex has a 2 for the x, and I need to find the rest of the vertex. I find that by plugging the 2 back in here. Four minus 8 plus 1, anybody? Negative 3. 4 minus 8 would be negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3, yes. So 2, negative 3 is the vertex. So now all I have to know is that vertex form looks like x minus h plus k. Is that the answer we had a minute ago for that question? I sure hope so, or I'll make it a really bad video. Yes, right here? Okay, we completed this square, but you could have done it by finding the vertex. Now, completing the square was not our friend when we had this guy, right? So we're going to use this new formula I have taught you. X equals opposite of b. What's the opposite of negative 12? Over 2 times a. So we would get 12 over 4, which would be 3. So the vertex of this parabola is 3 something. How can we always find the y value? Plug in the 3, so we'll get y equals 2 times 3 squared minus 12 times 3 plus 7. You can use your calculator. 18 minus there's negative 18. This turns out to be 18 minus 36 plus 7 is negative 18 plus 7 is negative 11. Okay. Now, vertex form is y equals x minus h, which was 3, squared plus k. This is h and k, which is minus 11. What do we have to remember when you cheat and find the vertex? Why did I leave a big blank here? Yeah, this has a stretch of an a value of 2. So, vertex form is, everybody got this down? Okay. Let me put a quick slide in here to give you a summary of what we just did. We said, I'm going to use vertex form, and I'm going to find h by using x equals negative b over 2a, which will find h, really. And then I'm going to find k by doing what? By plugging x in. And then where did I get this guy? Yeah, keep a from the original equation. If you want to not have to complete the square, this is what you need to Gotta figure out. That made no sense. Okay. Just pretend I'm literate or able to speak properly or something. All right, let's try these. Quadratic functions can be written ax squared plus bx plus c. We need to be able to identify the vertex and line of symmetry and the opening direction. Methods can include sketching the graph, using the vertex finder recipe, there it's finally written on your notes, or completing the square, which we found we weren't really big fans of. Okay, so we're supposed to find what for these? Vertex, line of symmetry, opening direction. Can we identify the vertex right away on this one? H, K, so we'd have positive 5, 6. What else? Symmetry. Guys, the line of symmetry is this. This is the line of symmetry. Line of symmetry. Yes, but because it's a line, it has to be x equals. You can't just write 5. Everybody good on what I'm talking about? It's a whole line where all the x values are 5. All right, last thing is, which way does this one open? The 2 makes it open up. Because A was positive 2. All right, B, go through real fast. Who can do this one? All the steps for me. Jack, can you tell me the vertex? Okay. Aislinn, can you tell me where the line of symmetry is then? Look at this one. It was just x equals negative 3. There we go. And who can tell me what direction it opens? Brandon? Good job. And why is that? Because A is negative 3. All right, C. What's wrong? Not in vertex form. But can we use the vertex finder recipe? It doesn't even want us to write it in the form necessarily. I think I'll practice that anyway, but let's just find the vertex. How do you find the vertex? You go x equals opposite of b over 2a, which would be positive 6 over 2 times 2. 6 over 4. 3 over 2. Or 1.5. When you go to plug it in, you could plug in 1.5 if you want. We just found the line of symmetry, by the way. It is x equals 3 over 2. All right, to find the rest of the vertex, we need to go back and plug it in. 2 times 3 over 2 squared minus 6 times 3 over 2 plus 13. Do I need to show you how to type that on the calculator? Just use your divide for your fraction. So 2 parenthesis 3 divided by 2 parenthesis squared minus 6 parenthesis 3 divided by 2 parenthesis plus 13. This would be 9/4. Doubled would be 9/2. Minus 18/2 would be negative 9/2 plus 13. Is it like 9.5? Did anybody get a decimal? 8.5? Which, 8.5 or 17/2. Okay, what am I missing? Okay, it opens, how do we know? Yeah, because A was positive 2. Okay, I know it doesn't ask you this, but could we write this in vertex form real quick? Because it does ask you on the quiz, and I think we need a little more practice. Y equals, what's A? A is just 2, and then vertex form would be x minus 3/2 quantity squared plus k, which is 17/2. Okay, it didn't ask us that, but is everybody okay where I got all those numbers? Okay. What time are we done? Okay. We have 2 more of these. Does someone want to pick one of them? Should we try E? What's the trick on E? Yeah, so 5x squared minus 6x plus 12. This is A, B, and C for finding the vertex or the line of symmetry. So if we do x equals opposite of b over 2a, we'd have positive 6 over what? 2 times 5, 6 over 10, or 0.6, or 3/5. Any of those would work for our vertex. Okay, to find the rest of the vertex, so the axis of symmetry would be that. But to find the rest, we got to plug it back in. So if somebody type in 5 times 0.6 squared minus 6 times 0.6 plus 12, just to make it a little faster to type. 10.2, or it'd be 51 over 5. Because they're exact decimals, if you had said 0.6 and 10.2, that would be okay. Do we need to practice writing it in vertex form, or you got it? You would just put in H and K. What was the last thing? Opens which way for this one? Opens up. All right, you okay with me skipping D? All right, moving on. We need to talk for the last 7 or 8 minutes here about finding the equation. The things you need to do, guys, are listed up here. It says start with vertex form, then find the stretch A. That's supposed to be like in quotes right there. And this is supposed to say by, by, putting in another point and solving for the quote-unquote A. It is written so badly. All right. I'm going to skip A and start with B. This is a calculator screen. This is -2, -1, 1, 2, 3. So where's the vertex? The vertex is at -2, +3. So can you start out the formula for me? X minus H would become +2. I'm trying to fill in vertex form, okay? I didn't make that very clear. I was too much of a hurry. Plus K, which would be 3. What I don't know is what this number is out here. Okay, we need to go back and find A. It says start with the vertex form, then find the stretch A by putting in another point and solving for A. So I need another point on this parabola. Can anybody identify another point? You want to put in 0, -1 is not a good plan, because that's not the name of that point. Yeah, -1, 0. I do that all the time, and it'll mess you up. Okay, so this time I'm going to put in this point that I know is on the parabola, and I'm going to solve for A. So y is 0 when x is -1. This method of finding the stretch, we are going to use continually the rest of the year. Now, -1 plus 2 is what? 1. 1 squared is 1 times A is just A. So if I subtract 3, I get negative 3 equals A. So what's the final answer here? Yeah, we need to just put the negative 3 back in here and we're done. All right, my goal is to get 2 more done. Do you think we can get 2 more done? Let's try C. Where's the vertex? Negative 2, negative 2? Okay. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What are you writing, Hofbauer? So this is H and K when we start with this form. So it would say y equals A. X minus negative 2 would become plus 2. And plus K would be a minus 2 on the back. Did I lose anybody on that part? Are you putting the vertex in? Okay, now we need another point. Where's a really nice point we could plug in? Yeah, it goes through 0, 0. So 0, 0, I'm going to put in for which letters, guys? X and Y. So 0 equals A times 0 plus 2 minus 2. 0 equals A times 4 minus 2. Add 2 to both sides. And I get 2 equals 4A. So A is what? Be careful. 2 over 4, which would be 1/2. Right? Got to divide by 4. So final answer, y equals 1/2 x plus 2 squared minus 2. Now let me tell you this. Do you think I'm going to put something on the quiz that you can just guess what the stretch is? Probably not. So you need to learn to do this because the stretch is very likely going to be, 4/7 or 2/3 or something really disgusting. Because I want you to be using this method. All right, one more. Which one do you want to start with? D? Okay, so this is H and K, and then we're going to put these in for X and Y in a minute. But let's start with y equals A. Then it's going to be what? X plus 1, good. Squared plus 4. Don't forget the squared. It's a huge mistake students make. Now I'm going to put in a 0 and a 7. So I'll have y equals 7, x equals 0. What happens? All of this is multiplied together, and I need to subtract a 4 over here. What is 0 plus 1 squared times a? Just 1a, right? So the a is... Almost have time to do one more. Everybody good, though? Okay. This is the assignment tonight. Please write this down because it's not correct. It's on your assignment sheets, and I don't have a homework check sheet for you yet. So pull out worksheet 7, circle 1, 2, 6, 7, 11, and 14. Those 6 questions. 1, 2, 6, 7, 11, and 14. Eventually, you're also going to have to do 15 and 17 on the back, but we haven't talked about how to do those yet. And actually, they're not on the back because it's not two-sided. And I'm so mad, guys. Okay, I'll stop the recording.